Now here's how this is going to work. If you want to ask a question directly, please come to one of the two microphones and stand in line. When I recognize you, please state your name, indicate who your question's for, and ask it. Please state your question as simply and as directly as possible. If I feel that we need a follow-up from the responder, we have a bunch of slippery folks here tonight, or another panelist, I'll ask them to respond. Two gentle reminders. Please keep your questions focused on tonight's three topics of the economy, energy, and the environment. Also, please ask a question. Don't make a speech. If you depart from that, I may have to cut you off, and I don't want to do that. So first of all, first question, sir.
Thank you, Jack. I think this is really interesting because I'm hosting a conference 2 weeks from now on energy, economy, and environment with 40 speakers up at Crystal Mountain Resort. So here's the question. It sounds like the national candidates have no plans specific to Michigan to help Michigan. So how could we create 100,000 new jobs in Michigan? Could the big three diversify from auto companies to transportation companies, such as and including light rail? Could the big three become renewable energy companies to provide these wind turbines and solar panels? And how could a new feed-in tariff law help Michigan?
Could you explain a feed-in tariff law?
Feed-in tariff law is any person or corporation can put up renewable energy systems and they can feed that energy into the grid and they're paid a premium for the energy they put into the grid.
Who did you address your question to?
I think our economist and...
Let's start with our economist, Dr. Ross.
Which part? You had a lot of parts to the question.
How about the diversification of the auto industries? Is that something that's possible? Because we don't want to see them fail.
Well, I'm not sure about the top tier producers. We're certainly seeing that diversification already occur in the second tier providers. And many of them are already looking at wind and are looking at biomedical and medical manufacturing. So we're already seeing that happen at the second tier level. I don't think that the structures of GM and Chrysler and Ford are designed to make that shift.
Do either of you other experts want to follow up on that?
I think that GM is putting much effort, and I trust that it's accurate on the new electric plug-in technology. I think if they put more investment into it, and especially from the federal government, that'll be a very much worthwhile transformation for that industry and here in Michigan. And also about the feed-in tariffs, just about a month ago it was you buy on an average, let's say 10 cents a kilowatt hour, and you sell your renewables, as I do from GVSU into consumers' energy grid, about 2.1 cents a kilowatt hour. After their RPS and about 85 days left for the law to be enacted, is going to be, with individual residentials, is going to be, parity, net metering, which is plus or minus like 10 cents a kilowatt hour. So there's a big move after the RPS, and that's a very positive move for our state.
Mark, do you want to briefly comment on any of this?
No. We covered it nicely. Thank you.
I have an email question for the surrogates. This person has written, if I make $50,000 a year and have a good employer-sponsored health plan that costs $12,000, $3,000 of which I pay for through payroll deduction, how will both myself and my employer be impacted by your candidate's health plan? Mark, start.
Without getting into the math, which I don't profess to know, as I understand Senator McCain's program, the employee will now, for the first time in the history of this country, pay taxes, income taxes, on the value of those health care benefits. So his or her taxes will presumably go up by some amount.
Well, what bad things would your candidate do?
What bad? The only bad thing about the program is, frankly, a good thing. The Obama program is that basically we want to make sure we provide access to insurance, and it would require people to buy insurance. And there would be subsidies and other kinds of ways to make sure that folks who could not afford insurance would receive some assistance so they could buy that. But people would be required to buy insurance.
Joe Schwartz?
Good question. John McCain proposes a $2,500 per individual, $5,000 per family tax credit, but in fact, the benefits from an employer-based insurance will be taxable. He also suggests that we provide access through private insurance pools, which is close but not probably no cigar for universal access, which I, as a physician, think we need. Now, even though healthcare and trying to restructure the healthcare system in the United States is probably the most important domestic issue, I don't believe the next administration is going to get to it, because there's so many other things out there, mainly the economy, that are going to get in the way, and really probably should get in the way. But in time, we have to understand, and I know that Senator Obama does, and I'm sure that Senator McCain does as well, we've got to have universal access. Every American has got to have a portal of entry to get into the system to have health care. And that portal of entry is not the emergency room at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I know both candidates agree on that as well. And as someone who spends 3 days a week at a federally qualified health center, I can tell you there are a lot of people out there that don't have health care, and we should increase the number of federally qualified health centers. And I believe I have heard both candidates on one occasion or another say that as well. Unfortunately, the problem of health care and providing health care, appropriate health care to all Americans, is not going to be item number one for the next administration.
You're saying essentially that you don't think whoever the president is, that they will be able to do anything about health care in the next 4 years.
That's not quite what I'm saying. I'm saying they may do something, but it's not going to be the modifications that are needed to get everybody under the umbrella. And this is the United States of America, and this is me speaking now, folks, and I'm a Republican. This is the United States of America, and everyone should be under the umbrella. And I don't believe for 1 minute that both John McCain and Barack Obama don't feel the same way about that.
Jack, can I take my minute here now?
Yeah.
I really don't think, and Senator Obama doesn't think that addressing health care can be delayed. First of all, I mean, this is just frankly a moral issue to the senator that we've got to cover everybody. But beyond that, there are economic consequences to this lack of coverage. It's one of the reasons why many of our companies are so uncompetitive vis-a-vis other countries in the world. So there's an economic imperative now to fix this system, because the costs are really hurting American business, and that gets wrapped up and comes right back into the economic problems we face. So we don't believe you can put it off in any meaningful way. It's got to be addressed, and addressed quickly.
Comment.
Yes.
What do you do about Medicare? I don't think Mark knows. I don't know. But remember that $30 trillion is sitting out there in the next 20 years. That is what's it going to take to make Medicare solvent. And nobody's addressed that yet. People just know the numbers.
Would you characterize this as sort of an aneurysm on American society?
Well, an aneurysm is not a bad description. I can think of a few others.
Let's go to this very patient gentleman here. Sir, your turn.
Aaron Lubbers, and I have questions for Senator SCHWARZ and Chairman Brewer on the economy. And this was advertised as a forum that would address Michigan problems and how things were going to affect Michigan. We are about to elect, I think, a senator of long standing. We have a congressman from Detroit, Conyers, who's been in a long time. We have at least Upton and Nolenberg, who've been around a long time.
Not to mention Congressman Dingle, who's been there longer than
Well, Dingle, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, the longest of all. And I read recently, after being aware of all of this seniority, that we had dropped from 42nd to 44th in the amount of money that we receive per capita from Washington. And here we are, a state in the worst state economically. And our politicians don't seem to find ways to help our economy by getting a little larger share from Washington. From my observation, that's been a long time.
That's a
and
brilliant
neither the
question.
Democratic Party nor the Republican Party has been effective. Am I right or wrong? How should we as Michigan citizens feel about that?